Okay, well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time zone you're in. Welcome to the 28th annual conference of the Clubhouse Network, or our first ever annual conference that's virtual, depending on how you want to look at it. I'm Gail Breslow, Executive Director, and it's my honor and privilege to kick off this gathering of our community today. There's a Spanish language version of this available to you if you prefer. Si buscas la versión español, haga clic en interpretcloud.com y nos vemos. I'm going to try to speak slowly to accommodate our Spanish translators. Very grateful to them today. I can't help but start by saying that I know, like all of you, I would much prefer to be in person with all of you. But the Clubhouse Network staff has been working really hard, along with many of you, to create a program over the next 3 days that I know will be meaningful and productive. And I hope it will have the same kind of moments of joy and laughter and love that our in-person conference does. So thank you all for being here, and thanks to all of you for contributing in all the ways that you have, both leading up to and during our conference over the next 3 days. I know it's somewhat unusual to start a conference by talking about next year, but I want to lead with that because I'm very excited to be able to tell all of you that, pandemics permitting, next year we will be back in New Orleans, which is the city that we had to abandon last year when the pandemic first hit. So you heard it here first. Our 2022 annual conference will be Tuesday, April 19th through Thursday, April 21st, with the post-conference on the 22nd in New Orleans, Louisiana. We'll be sending out more information about the conference and how you can get involved in the coming weeks and months. But I don't want to get too far ahead of us because we do want to reflect briefly on the year that has passed and the new developments that we have underway for 2021. 2022, or 2020, I don't have to tell any of you how difficult a year it was, with the global pandemic, the lockdowns, 2.8 million deaths around the world. My heart goes out to anyone who lost a loved one during this very difficult year. And then the economic and emotional impact and mental health impact of the year that we have just experienced. And in the United States, it has been a year of horrific violence against Black people, against a backdrop of centuries of systemic racial oppression and discrimination against marginalized people, not only in the US, but around the world. In short, it's been a really difficult year, but I'm pleased to tell you that the Clubhouse Network remains strong and resilient, as our conference theme for the next 3 days suggests. And we have lots of exciting new developments to share with you. But let me first start with a snapshot of where we are today in April 2021. We have 109 clubhouses and Best Buy Teen Tech Centers in 20 countries. I think since the last time that we were together, we've had clubhouses open up in both Japan and Turkey. And as you'll see in a moment, we have a new site opening up in Canada soon as well. Outside the US, I think our number count is 41 clubhouses, and inside the US, we have 68 clubhouses and Best Buy Teen Tech Centers up and running. As in prior years, we have lost a few clubhouses over the past year. In some cases, from a leadership perspective or from a financial point of view, the organizations just weren't able to support their clubhouses. And even though it's been a difficult year, I take the position that if you aren't at least working toward strengthening the program that you have in place, then let's not have clubhouses out there using our name that aren't representing us well. So perhaps some of those will come back at a later time when circumstances permit. But at the same time that we've lost a few clubhouses, it's been a year of enormous growth. This is a slide of all of the new Best Buy Teen Tech Centers that are on the verge of opening in the coming months. As you can see, it's a very long list, and there are more coming behind these, because Best Buy over the past several years has made the Clubhouse Network and the Clubhouse learning model its signature teen program. And in June of last year, after the tragic murder of George Floyd in Best Buy's headquarters city of Minneapolis, Best Buy's CEO made a commitment as part of the company's overall response and investment in racial justice that they would start and establish 100 Best Buy Teen Tech Centers in the coming years. So there are more to come on the heels of these organizations that will be joining us, a variety of libraries, boys and girls clubs, YMCAs, and other community organizations, all in low-income neighborhoods. These investments by Best Buy obviously benefit the local communities, but they also benefit the network as a whole and make us stronger. And Best Buy also is providing support to the network that then ripples out in support of all of you. It takes many different forms. Sponsorships of our annual conference and Teen Summit, the Reach Media Festival Awards, and I'll put a plug in here at the top of the next hour. You won't want to miss the Reach Media Festival Awards ceremony that Jeff Arthur and colleagues have been putting together. The village redesign that Best Buy has invested in with us that I'll talk about in a few minutes, as well as activism and advocacy grants and many other ways. And so Best Buy's support is not only to the individual communities in which Best Buy Teen Tech Centers are opening, but also to the Clubhouse network as a whole. And in addition to Best Buy's investments, I know that we will continue to see more clubhouses open up in the coming years. I get inquiries every week from people and organizations that have a chance to visit or learn about a clubhouse and reach out to me to say, how can we start one of these amazing and inspiring programs in our community? Right now we have conversations going on from Colombia to Kenya, if you will, and everywhere in between. And so I don't want you to feel any pressure, but just know that anytime someone visits your clubhouse or your teen tech center, that it's quite possible that they'll be so inspired that they'll want to start a program of their own down the road. So in short, the Clubhouse Network is strong and certainly growing. But our support to communities and to young people isn't just about numbers. All of you have been working tirelessly in the past year to ensure that young people have the opportunity to speak up and speak out. You've been telling your alumni stories and helping to amplify alumni voices so that everyone around the network and beyond can be inspired by what alumni from clubhouses across the world are up to. And you've been in the news. This is a snapshot that Jake Wilkenfeld-Mongillo, our Clubhouse Network Marketing and Communications Manager, put together for me a couple of weeks ago. And it's just a small sampling of all of the places that your clubhouses have shown up in the news. And I'm so glad that you're getting the visibility and recognition that you deserve, because you deserve it, your communities deserve it, and your young people deserve it. But obviously there is more work to be done. And the Clubhouse Network has been working in the past several months to develop a new 5-year strategic plan to guide our efforts and priorities over the next coming years. And as you can see here, there are 6 priority areas that we've identified for those 5 years. 3 that we're calling pillars, that are the 3 along the top, and 3 that kind of cut across everything that we do. Because we won't be able to support these initiatives if we don't have not only a strong partnership with Best Buy, but also diversified funding. And we won't be able to support these initiatives unless we have a Clubhouse Network staff that is strong and supported. And we won't be able to support these initiatives if we don't have a flagship Clubhouse in Roxbury that is strong and is a role model for others. And so really, actually, all of these things are deeply intertwined. But I'm going to talk just today about the top 3, the 3 that I'm calling pillars, and start with growth, infrastructure, and innovation. I've already talked about growth, how we're experiencing growth as a network, and we know we're going to be experiencing growth in the coming years. And so with that, we've come to the conclusion that we need to make sure that we have the infrastructure to support that growth. But beyond that, we want to make sure that we aren't just maintaining the status quo, but rather that we're bringing fresh ideas and fresh perspectives and an innovative outlook to all of our work as we grow and as we build that infrastructure. So I'm going to talk about a number of initiatives that are underway that fit under this umbrella and relate to the other 2 as well. And the first is that I'm excited to be giving to you today a first sneak peek at our new village. So for some of you who are new, let me just start by saying that the village is our signature online social learning community for young people around the world. And it has been sorely in need of an overhaul for several years. And we're finally about to launch this new village in the coming weeks and months. So this new village, it really has benefited from a lot of input that many of you have given us about what you would like to see more of or less of. First thing I'll say is the new village will be both desktop friendly and also mobile friendly. But similar to the classic village or the village that we're overhauling, this version will revolve around projects. And by that, what I mean is that young people will be able to post projects related to the work that they're doing in their clubhouses for others to see, to collaborate on, to comment on, and to be inspired by. And a new function of the village will be that discussions will be able to be tied to projects as well. This is what the project builder looks like. And by the way, I should say there's both a dark and a light form of the village that'll be available to all users that people will be able to select. I just picked the dark version for today. So this project builder has been rebuilt from the ground up, and it'll give young people the ability to share a wide variety of media types within the same project, which we haven't had the ability for before. But let's say a young person creates an album. As part of the same project, they'll be able to upload and share tracks from that album, an album cover, maybe a description about what inspired them to write the songs in the album, maybe a music video that they're working on around some of the tracks, all baked into the same project. And then projects will be able to be categorized and tagged, and what we're calling verified by staff or by young people that will be designated as youth leaders. And by verified, what that means, it'll be a project that is recommended especially for others to take a look at and check out. And this is what the member profile looks like. So coordinators will have the opportunity to issue achievements, or really our version of digital badges. And another thing that I'm very excited about is that young people will be able to curate their projects and create a link that people who are not Clubhouse members will be able to access to view the portfolio that a member wishes to share with people outside the clubhouse. Again, something we've heard from you and from your members and from young people over the years that they would really like to see in the new village. So this is just a snapshot. Something else that the new village is going to involve is a sign-in system so that you will be able to track on a regular basis who's coming to your clubhouse, how often they come, what the demographics are of young people who come. Again, something that many of you have been begging for over the past few years. Oh, I know the village has been a long time coming. It's been a bit delayed, but it is finally close. We're going to be starting beta testing later this month. Many of you have already volunteered to serve as beta testers, but if you haven't yet and you're interested, please reach out to Jason Peterson, the Clubhouse Network's tech manager, and he can loop you in. And we hope to launch the village in full by the summer, by the time the summer comes around. And I want to make a special shout out to Jason and also to Brendan Casey, our Associate Director for Program Operations, who've been working really hard with an outside developer that we brought on last year in order to bring this to life. I know it'll have turned out to have been worth the wait. And I also want to thank Best Buy for their very generous capital grant and investment in the new village, because without that, we would not have been able to hire this outside developer and to introduce all of these new features that you'll be seeing soon. So that's a little bit about the village. Another new initiative that many of you are aware of is our Tech Fellowship program. This is at the intersection of social justice, creative learning, and technology. And the goal is to provide our tech fellows with an opportunity to give all of you learning experiences to undertake within your own clubhouses, and for them to serve as mentors to coordinators around the global network. The selection of our tech fellows this year was highly competitive, to say the least. And I want to thank all of you who applied for this program this year. I hope we'll be able to do it again next year and continue to grow the Tech Fellowship community. But for this year, your Tech Fellows are depicted here. There's Cherie Kaba from the Redwood City Boys and Girls Club, Gail and Shu from Gold Crown in Lakewood, Colorado, and Gustavo Madrigal from Listo America in Tustin, California. So they are working and will be working over the coming months to curate a variety of activities and trainings for you, developing a library of resources, creating new partnerships to be introduced, and also working on a passion project of their own in their own clubhouse that will be shared with all of you. This effort is being led by Steph Rosario Rodriguez, the Clubhouse Network's knowledge manager. So if you have ideas for the Tech Fellows or questions, feel free to reach out to any of the Tech Fellows or to Stephanie in the days and weeks to come. And more to come from the Tech Fellows soon, I know. Another new development that I'm super excited to be announcing here for the first time is we know that you need to be able to offer innovative technology, cutting edge technology in your clubhouses in order to be supporting your youth and families. And so we are instituting a tech refresh and retool grant program for clubhouses. This year, it's relatively small. It's $75,000 in total. So we'll maybe be able to offer 8 or 10 of these. The eligibility is for this is clubhouses worldwide who are in good standing with the network. And the decisions will be made on a competitive basis based on the need that you demonstrate and the potential impact in your community. So we'll be sending out a request for proposals about this in September, and with a pretty quick turnaround because we know the need is great, with grants being offered provided in October or November of this year. I hope that next year we'll be able to increase the size of the Tech Refresh Fund and offer even more of these, because again, we know that innovation is important at every level, including at the local level, in terms of what you can offer your young people. Also under the umbrella of growth, innovation, and infrastructure, many of you are familiar with the Facebook Engineer for the Week initiative because you've been participating. This is an effort that Jeff Arthur, our community liaison for the Clubhouse Network, has been spearheading for the last 2 or 3 years. And it's really grown and blossomed through Jeff's efforts, and also because of the success that all of you are having. I hear often from Jeff that Facebook, they're working with many different after-school youth organizations, and they're really impressed with the Clubhouse Network. And because of that, new opportunities have arisen for us. So in 2020, 2021, we've been able to launch a Latin American pilot, the first non-English version of Engineer for the Week that Facebook is offering. We've been able to provide additional financial support to all of the participating clubhouses from Facebook. And we've launched a Clubhouse Ambassador program, where there are 3, actually now 4 Clubhouse staff who are working side by side with Facebook partners, leading workshops and supporting participants from across the entire Engineer for the Week community. And those ambassadors are Brian Berengard from Project 18 in Argentina, Jonathan Solis from Casa de la Juventud in Costa Rica, also Terrence David from the Howard Area Community Center in Chicago, and most recently Kayla Mayers from the Best Buy Teen Tech Center in South Salt Lake City. So if you have questions about Engineer for the Week, feel free to reach out to any of the ambassadors or to Jeff, or check out the workshop that's happening at this conference. I believe it's later today. I'm not sure about that. Do check your schedule, where you can meet folks from Facebook and learn a little bit more about what this initiative offers. And finally, under the pillar of growth, innovation, and infrastructure, I wanted to just share a little bit about our latest grant from the U.S. Department of Justice, in particular from the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. We're calling it Impacts 3.0, where Impacts stands for increasing mentor participation and commitment to success. And this program will be providing funding to the Clubhouse Network and 10 clubhouses to increase the quality and quantity of mentoring relationships in support of young people, not only at those 10 clubhouses, but worldwide. It focuses on self-efficacy and self-advocacy, college and career programming, and trauma-informed care in particular. And we're going to be hiring an outside consultant to develop trainings and resources, in particular focused on trauma-informed care, which we know is especially important in light of the events and experiences that young people around the world have had and been traumatized by over the past year. And the resources and learnings from this will be disseminated network-wide. So it's a grant of a little over $2 million. And I want to make a special shout out to Jennifer Bourgoin, who's our Clubhouse Network Mentor Program Manager, who has been leading the Impacts 2.0 efforts and now 3.0, and almost single-handedly put this federal government grant together. And any of you who have been involved in submitting a federal government grant will know that that is no small feat. So a big shout out to Jennifer, and also to these 10 clubhouses and teen tech centers that are a part of the Impacts 3.0 community. If you have questions about 3.0, Impacts 3.0, if you have ideas about external resources or consultants who would be good for us to check out as we launch this initiative, please reach out to Jennifer in the coming weeks. I know she'd be grateful to hear from you. So that's a bit about the initiatives that are underway under the umbrella or the pillar of growth, infrastructure, and innovation. Moving to Clubhouse Continuum. The Clubhouse Continuum is a term that we have coined to really connote a focus on leadership development, an intentional focus on leadership development that begins on a member's first day in a clubhouse and continues throughout adulthood as they graduate into an alum world. We have an expression, once a member, always a member, and we want that to hold true for all of the young people who have the opportunity to participate in a clubhouse as part of their life journey. This is an effort that's being led by Christine Monska, who is the Clubhouse Network's Youth Leadership Program Manager. And we've put together this visual as a graphic to kind of reflect some of the elements of what the Clubhouse Continuum model includes. Some of these are already happening in many of your clubhouses, and some are underway. In the last year, for example, we were able to provide mini grants to support, I think, close to 20 clubhouses in either starting or sustaining a youth leadership council or an alumni chapter. And if you're interested in learning more about those, there is a session, I think this afternoon at 1:30 Eastern on youth leadership councils, and one tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern time on starting an alumni chapter. So feel free to check those out if your time permits. And also go to Clubhouse Connect, because part of this work also is developing resources that will support you in ensuring that you're able to offer these kinds of programs in your clubhouses if you aren't already doing so. So there's a toolkit, there's sort of a beginner's guide, and then a toolkit, a youth leadership council toolkit that has been developed as well. And then going forward, it is our intent to form an international youth leadership board and an alumni advisory board, so that we're making sure that we're really centering youth voice and youth perspective in everything that we do. Some of the youth leadership events that we have been either working on or planning in conjunction with the Clubhouse Continuum. I think you all know that unfortunately we weren't able to have a teen summit last year because of the pandemic. But if the global health conditions permit, we will have a teen summit in the summer of July 2022. But in the absence of an in-person gathering last year, we developed a platform called Clubhouse Voices that was intended to serve as a place for youth voices to be amplified around their perspective and responses to COVID-19 and racism. And this coming summer in July, we are organizing a virtual youth leadership gathering where young people will come together to foster global community, develop technology skills, and work with each other and with mentors to create blueprints for action to take back to their clubhouses. So this is going to be open to all Clubhouse members between the ages of 13 and 18. There might be a few activities that are capped, and we'll be asking coordinators to work with us around those particular events. But as you can see here from this list, we're putting together a long list of workshops and networking and community building experiences, advocacy and social justice projects through technology and so on. So if you have ideas about what this might look like, if you've been to other virtual youth leadership experiences that you've been inspired by and have suggestions for us, please reach out to Christine, and we'll be sharing more about this in the weeks to come as well. Also, under the umbrella of our Clubhouse Continuum model is Clubhouse to College, Clubhouse to Career, or C2C, which is intended to be a really foundational part of what every young person's experience is in a clubhouse, whether it takes the form of individual one-on-one conversations about, you know, gosh, you seem really interested in drafting and in design. Have you ever thought about being an architect? To job shadows, to field trips, to site visits, to workshops where speakers from different careers come in and talk about how they got started, all the various forms that C2C might take. But in the last few years, with support from Best Buy, we've also launched something called C2C Pathways, which is intended to be a bit more structured and a bit more intentional than the day-to-day Clubhouse to College, Clubhouse to Career offerings within an individual clubhouse. And what this consists of is a year-long program where young people opt in to attend and participate in weekly workshops around both technology skills and workforce readiness skills. And then the year-long program culminates in paid summer internships for those youth participants. And as part of this work over the past few years, a lot of resources have been developed. This is an initiative that Aviva Bath from the Clubhouse Network has been spearheading. And so I would encourage you to go to this site, which is Clubhouse Connect, and check out the C2C Pathways resources. Some of them might be more relevant if you're interested in running a kind of full-fledged C2C Pathways year-long program like I just described, but some of them, like a set of workforce readiness curriculum trainings really would be relevant for everyone. And so that is something that has come out of the C2C Pathways work that can benefit all of you. And also, as part of this work over the last few years, we've been thinking about what we can do to really make sure that C2C is meeting the needs of your clubhouse and your young people where they're at, with, you know, multiple entry points. So at level one is kind of that core C2C programming that I was describing that really should be an element of every clubhouse, and where we want to make sure that you have resources and training and ongoing support for all of your happenings in your local clubhouse. At a second level, though, there might be some short programs that you're doing, maybe 3 weeks long, maybe up to 12 weeks long. Something like the Engineer for the Week program that Facebook offers, like I mentioned earlier, or something that you might be doing locally with a partner like Girls Who Code, for example. And then level 3 would be that C2C Pathways, that's more structured year-long program where all of the youth who participate have paid summer internships at the end. And so we want to be looking holistically at C2C to make sure that we're really doubling down on this as part of this continuum model. And as we're doing that, there's some shifts in project roles that are taking place. So first of all, Aviva Bath is going to be stepping up into a role where she's overseeing really all of our C2C offerings, and we're going to be hiring a new C2C Pathways program manager. And then Aviva and that person will be reaching out to you to understand where your needs are, what resources you have that we can share broadly with the network as a whole, and where the pressure points here are to make sure that you have the support that you need. So that's going to be happening over the coming months. And I also am excited to share in the same related to roles and responsibilities that Jackie Gonzalez has joined the Best Buy staff in support of C2C pathways and C2C. And some of you may remember Jackie. She was the flagship Clubhouse manager for several years. And we're just so excited to have Jackie working with us again, because we know she really understands the Clubhouse, and not only understands, but has a deep love for the Clubhouse and the Clubhouse community. So welcome back to Jackie. If you have ideas about C2C and what we can be doing to support you more, please do reach out to Aviva, and we'll be sharing more about this in the coming weeks to come. And then finally, under the rubric of the Clubhouse Continuum pillar, I want to say just a few words about our alumni program. So this is something since Christine has joined us a year and a half ago. She's been working really hard to increase the resources that are available to alumni through the network, but also to increase the outreach to alumni. We've, in the past few months, launched an alumni outreach campaign that has resulted in over 500 alumni being back in touch with us, which may sound like a large number. I don't know if it does or not, but with 28 years of history behind us and over 100 clubhouses, it's really not that much. And we can only be serving alumni and amplifying their voices if we're in touch with them. Actually, later this year, we're going to be doing a survey of all alumni to understand what the impact of the Clubhouse has been on their lives. And this is something I've heard over the years that you would really like to see, to provide evidence to your funders that the long-term impact of the Clubhouse is great, that young people who participate end up with successful lives. They end up with jobs with living wages and meaningful work, and a sense of self. But we can't make that case unless we're in touch with alumni. And so I would ask you, if you haven't already done so, please encourage everyone who's age 19 and up. We have alumni who are almost 40, so I definitely emphasize the and up, and encourage them to be in touch with us. And the way to do that is to just have them update their information on the link that is provided here. And we will follow up from there. And I'll also add that, on the occasion of our 30th anniversary, which is only a little over 2 years away, we plan to have an alumni summit, as we did at our 25th. And we'll be using this database to reach out to alumni, to ask them what they would like to see at the summit, how they would like to contribute, and also just to use this database as a source of invitations to those alumni. So please don't let your alumni miss out. Please have them sign up. And again, ideas about how we can better support our alumni community, please feel free to reach out to Christine and share those ideas with her. So finally, the third pillar around racial justice and equal opportunity. As I said, these are all 6 of these priorities, all 3 of these pillars are very integrated. We intend to undertake all of our work through a racial equity and social justice lens. But we also wanted to be explicit about it in our 5-year plan, because we believe that it is only with intentionality that we will work to ensure that both individually, organizationally, and in terms of the support that we are offering young people, that we're doing so in a way that promotes racial equity and equal opportunity. And so we're bringing intention to this by making it one of our 3 pillars. That's going to take the form of lots of different things over the next 5 years, but I just want to share a couple of things that we're doing now to establish racial equity as an organizational priority. The first is that the Clubhouse Network has created an equity team. It's being led by Lynn Murray, who is our Associate Director for Inclusion and Engagement, together with Christine Manska, with Matthew Hall, Kamal London, and Stephanie Rosario Rodriguez as members. And the purpose of this equity team is to really guide and model and evaluate our policies and practices across the organization to ensure that they're equitable and to do that in a way that has a transformational impact on our entire community. We're also beginning work with the Clubhouse Network board on developing a racial equity framework and engaging the board in identifying specific priorities and action steps to build a race equity culture at the Clubhouse Network. This is under the leadership of Aman Milner, our board chair. And I would really encourage you Thursday at 12:30 Eastern. Aman is going to be speaking and sharing some of his thoughts around this topic and others with the Clubhouse community. So please join us there on Thursday to hear from Aman. I know you'll come away from that inspired and reflective around what he has to say. And then finally, Clubhouse outreach and support. We want to be and are going to be listening to you. We know that many of you already are working to support your youth in navigating and challenging systemic racism and in advocating for social justice. We want to hear about what you're doing, what has been successful, and where your challenges are and where we might be able to lend support. So as part of our assessment and planning process, which we're in the process of overhauling as well, we'll be asking questions so that we can understand how you view this, where again there are resources that we can draw from and share with others, and where there are challenges that we can support you around. And a specific initiative that I'm also just really thrilled to be able to offer to all of you is what we're calling a Youth Activism and Advocacy Program. This is generously funded by Best Buy and will enable us to provide funding to up to 10 clubhouses to provide resources for your members to engage in youth-driven and adult-supported activism that challenges systemic racism and the power inequalities and inequities in their communities and throughout the world. And so later in the year, we'll be putting out a request for proposals to learn about what efforts you're already undertaking and what ideas you have. And we'll be selecting, again, up to 10 clubhouses and providing funding in support of trainings to develop your young people's political analysis and leadership and organizing strategies, helping to put a curriculum together to support that effort, and so on. This effort, I know, will benefit not only these 10 clubhouses, but also the network as a whole. We're hiring a social justice program manager to lead this effort, so more information will be coming soon and also featured at the teen gathering that I mentioned earlier. But Lynn Murray is leading this effort, so if you have thoughts about this and the form that it might take or questions about it, please reach out to Lynn. So that's a little bit about the 3 pillars that will guide and direct the strategic initiatives of the Clubhouse Network over the next 5 years. And it brings me really, especially the comments I've just been making around racial equity and equal opportunity, to our conference over the next 3 days and what brings us together. and our theme around reflecting on our resiliency, innovation, and commitment to racial justice. I don't need to tell all of you that in the US, we live in a world of systemic racial bias against people of color, of police officers killing unarmed Black men and boys, from Tamir Rice to George Floyd, a world with profoundly anti-Black and anti-brown systems of segregation, and a wealth gap that in 2019 resulted in white households having 8 times the net worth of Black households in the United States, a gap that I know has only grown over the course of the pandemic and this past year. And unfortunately, the US is not alone in its oppression. Marginalized communities exist the world over. Again, nothing that I need to tell all of you. Over the next few days, I really encourage you to dive deep into these topics. Many of your colleagues have put together workshops, interactive workshops, that will allow you to explore these issues and how we can work together to support our young people in making the world a better place. But we can only do that if we dig deep and engage in these conversations with each other in meaningful ways. And so I invite all of you to do that in the next couple of days, and of course in the weeks and months and years to come, because this is not something that we're going to solve in a year or in a 5-year strategic plan, but really needs to be part and parcel of the journey that we're all on, and in the support that we provide to our local communities. I hear from all of you each year that our annual conference provides a chance for you to connect with colleagues, to experience joy, to leave refreshed and rejuvenated. And I know this year is challenging in that regard because of the limitations of the way in which we need to come together. But I hope that you will take the opportunity in the next few days to really be in community with each other and be present for all of the offerings that are put in front of you, to the extent that your circumstances and time permit. And so I want to just end with a thank you. I want to thank everyone who has worked to put this conference together over the past many months. I want to thank each of you who have put sessions together for your colleagues and your peers. And I want to thank all of you. I have the chance over the course of the year to speak with many of you, and I know how hard you all work in support of your local communities and in the dedicated and committed way in which you undertake your work, both locally and more broadly around the Clubhouse Network. So in all of the different languages represented around our network, I want to end with a personal, or as personal as I can be over Zoom. Thank you to each and every one of you. I hope I'll see you in the breakout and sessions and workshops over the coming couple of days. And if you have thoughts about anything that I have shared over the past 45 minutes, please reach out to me individually. Doesn't have to be in the next few days. I'd love to hear from you and continue the conversation that we've started here today. I'm going to put in a special plug at the top of the hour. You won't want to miss the Reach Media Festival Awards ceremony. So please take a few moments, take a stretch break, do whatever you need to do, and we'll see you back here shortly.